Hearing none, motion to, oh, Councillor LeBlanc.
Oh, yes, yes.
All right, could you hit your microphone, please?
Sorry about that. Yes, funding for a project for Yasta.
All right, project funding for YASTA. We're going to put that under item 9.9.
Yeah.
Is there any other additions or deletions to the agenda as circulated other than the one addition? Hearing none, a motion to accept the revised agenda is in order. Moved by Patty, seconded by Councillor Cunningham. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, item number 3. Is there any declarations or conflict of interest to declare? Seeing or hearing none. Move on to item number 4, the approval of the minutes. We have item approval for the minutes on February the 14th, Special Council, February 14th, in camera, February 20th, Committee of the Whole, February 20th, in camera meeting minutes, February the 20th, public transcript, February 26th, Special Council, February 26th, in camera, February 27th, regular council, February 27th, in camera, February 27th, public transcript, March the 13th, Committee of the Whole, March the 13th, in camera, March the 13th, public transcript, a lot of meeting minutes, and that would be it. Councillor LeBlanc.
I move for the approval of the minutes for February the 14th, 2019, Special Council meeting minutes. February the 14th, 2019, in-camera meeting minutes. February the 20th, 2019, Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. February the 20th, 2019, in-camera meeting minutes. February the 20th, 2019, public transcript meeting minutes. February 26th, 2019, Special Council meeting minutes. February 26, 2019, in-camera meeting minutes. February 27, 2019, regular council meeting minutes. February 27, 2019, in-camera meeting minutes. February 27, 2019, public transcript meeting minutes. March 13, 2019, Committee of the Whole meeting. March the 13th, 2019, in-camera meeting minutes. March 13, 2019, public transcript meeting minutes.
All right, we moved by Councillor LeBlanc. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Cushing. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Item number 5, Warden's remarks. Obviously, I'm not the Warden. I'm the Deputy Warden, John Cunningham. I did not prepare any meeting remarks. However, there is one thing that some of you may notice, that we're all wearing a purple ribbon for tonight's meeting, that the Municipality of Yarmouth is participating in the Epilepsy Awareness Month to show our support for the constituency who live with epilepsy by wearing a purple ribbon at tonight's meeting. So that's the reason why everyone is wearing a ribbon tonight. The only other remark that I have for this evening's meeting is, as we all know, the days are getting longer, the snow is starting to melt, and our grass is drying out. I wish to urge everyone out there, please, 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 think before you burn. Check the Department of Natural Resources website to see if you can burn, because it's putting all of our firefighters at risk. We've already had a few fires out in the municipality district of Yarmouth, most notably out in the Chebogue area, and I'm sure there's others. Please, please, please be careful and try to take control of your own burning. If it does get out of control, we're there to help, but don't put any lives or property at any undue risk. Okay, item number 6.1, second reading of the Heritage Bylaw H-064-84.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So again, this bylaw amendment is going forward. This will be your second and final reading prior to submission to the province of Nova Scotia. And again, it's to align the structure of your Heritage Committee with your practice.
Councillor Durkee.
I will make a motion to pass the second reading of the Heritage Property Bylaw H-064-84, which essentially changes the number of members from 8 to 7, and 2 shall be appointed by the municipal council and the other 5 appointed by the council but from the citizens of the municipality.
Motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Allen. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Council. Okay, we'll move on to item number 7, business arising. 7.1, Port Lakeland Lighthouse Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So through a discussion around possible surplus properties, Council discussed this particular asset, the lighthouse in Port Maitland. And while Council did not deem it surplus, there was an interest in understanding what could be done with the property. And the CAO was directed to take a look at that. So what I've prepared for you is a briefing note that provides the background on the property. And it also provides Council with a list of the projects that we are currently involved in, and by we I mean council and staff. And our major projects are based on either the financial commitment, the staff time, or both. And based on your strategic priorities that you set last fall in this project list, the Port Maitland Lighthouse doesn't quite rise to the top of the list in terms of creating a development strategy, but what I would recommend is that as you move forward in accomplishing some of these goals, that particular asset remain on your whiteboard to be brought forward when there is more time and resources to look at a special project.
Councillor Durkee.
Durkee? Councillor Durkee? Yes.
I did say Durkee and I had my teeth rolling around my mouth.
Thank you very much. Thank you, CEO, for looking into that for us. I completely understand where you're coming from when I look at this list of projects, and I would really appreciate it being put at the bottom of the list and possibly having us look at it for the next budget. What I would ask, though, if possible, is if staff could look at least having the door painted, which is in pretty awful shape, maybe red to give it some character, and just ensuring that the property lawn is mowed during the summer season, because people use that as an access to the little beach that's to the south of the wharf. Thank you.
Councillor Cushing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You mentioned about having the door painted red. That just brought me a thought. Is there any chance for kids or anybody to break into there and do vandalism or anything like this? Is it possible? Or is it
Well, I suppose, Councillor Cushing, anything's possible, but we've never had a problem there. We've never had a problem there.
Maybe I shouldn't have said nothing then. Okay.
Windows have been broken, but it actually looks pretty good, except for the door.
Is there any more discussion on that item? Hearing none. Move on to item 7.2, letter of response from the Transportation Infrastructure Renewal. You see the original letter there from the Municipality District of Yarmouth. I'm going to pull it up here and just read a couple passages from that. This was sent out to the Minister Lloyd Hines in regards to some questions that the Municipality District of Yarmouth councillors have received a lot of complaints over the past winter season about salting and sanding, and they were asking for any information if any policy changes was in effect, and we have the response letter there. So that basically says no. If there's any questions or comments that any councilors would like to make in that regards to that letter. I do have one question for either our recording secretary or our CAO. When is the Department of Highways next scheduled to come in tentatively?
It would be after we get through that.
Yeah, it would be, so they will be in here after we get through budget, so I guess the follow-up question to that, do we know if the regional, they did put her name out here and I can't find it. Pamela, do you know if Pamela, the regional director, is coming out as well?
We can extend that invitation.
Yeah, because actually in here in the letter that it said that if we had any questions or comments, and it left the phone number there to call Pamela. So maybe we could request that she attend the meeting with Don Houston.
And she did the last time, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I remember that, and we can bring up any questions or concerns that we have then. Any other comments? Go ahead.
I will note that not long after council sent this letter to the minister, I noted in Digby County and Yarmouth County, I noted that there were more applications of salt and brine on the road. I'm not sure if the letter had an impact on that, or if it just happened that the weather conditions were such that the department felt that those applications should happen. So it's great to confirm that there hasn't been a change in practice or policy, so that as you talk to constituents, you at least have that information.
One thing I want to comment about the brine is I noticed the brine trucks were out 2 nights ago, which was kind of confusing because they were giving fair weather that night and the next day, but maybe that's a question we can ask the department reps when they come by.
Well, the brine trucks help with the black ice in the morning, so as the temperature drops in the nighttime, in the morning when school buses and commuters are on the road, the brine helps prevent those black ice events, which we get in the springtime.
Absolutely, I'm no expert in that. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 8, recommendations from the Committee of the Whole, March 17th, 2019. Item 8.1, a letter from the Town of Yarmouth the formation of the Intermunicipal Steering Committee. Request for decision is there in item 8.1-1. What is the wishes of the council? Councillor Durkee.
I'll make a motion to approve the intermunicipal steering committee be made up of essentially the group of 9, which is the mayor, the 2 wardens, the deputy wardens, and the CAOs to work on the recreation infrastructure project.
Mover on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Cunningham. Any discussion? Yes, go ahead.
I would just like to say that I'm definitely going to vote in the affirmative on the motion. The Mariner Center is one of our 3 priorities, top priorities that we arrived at joint council, and each of the councils came back and approved those 3 priorities. The priorities are the airport, number 1, the ferry terminal, number 2, and number 3, the Mariner Center, and as such, those were all high priorities, and the feeling at the time, and those are still in force as far as I know, as regional priorities, that you know, there's a tacit agreement among, or more than a tacit agreement, they were approved by councils individually, and so I think it's an important project and long time coming, and I know there's some conversation around what infrastructure will be placed there, but again, we are in need of an upgrade, and looking forward to the pool and other ancillary recreational goods or capital goods out there. And so the community is really looking forward to it, and it will be a great project, and just like to say that the sooner the better.
Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Councillor Allen.
Just for clarity, this steering committee that we were proposing as the group of 9, will this be for the whole project or just phase 1?
Go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the intent that the steering committee structured as the group of 9 is intended for the funding application step of the process only. There was a discussion at committee of the whole for this council and our other 2 partner councils that as the project moves forward, the steering committee will change depending on what stage of the process we're at. So engagement work is different than technical design work, which is different than project management work. So it's an innovative approach to steering committees in that it's going to take on the shape it needs to have the right people at the table for the step of the process we're in.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any more questions? Question called on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Item number 8.2, volunteers for committees and boards, authorities policy V-110-07, repeal.
So, Mr. Chairman, if you remember, at Committee of the Whole, we had a discussion around repealing. There was a little bit of a duplication and overlap. So the discussion was around repealing V-110-07 and including that content in the next document, which is C-026-05. And it cleans up our language to confirm that we use an authorities structure in some of our work now as well.
What is the wishes of council?
So the recommendation, Mr. Chairman, would be for a motion to repeal policy V-110-07.
Councillor Cunningham.
I'll move that the Municipality District of Yarmouth repeal policy V-110-07.
I have a mover by Councillor Cunningham, a seconder by Councillor Allen. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, item number 8.3, citizens' appointments to committees, commissions, boards, and authorities policy approval.
So, Mr. Chairman, again, this combines the 2 policies. It updates the language to reflect structures like authorities that we use now, and it speaks to language around media, updating the language around media. And it also allows for a staggering appointment structure so that your appointments don't all come to the ends of their terms at the same time.
What is the wishes of councillor? Councillor Durkee.
Thank you. So I guess we need a motion to approve, I just need to find it, the citizen appointment to committees, commissions, boards, and authority policy.
Yes, you willing to make that motion?
Yes.
All right.
If I could, Mr. Chair, that's not quite right. So we're striking commissions because that's a structure that we're not using anymore. So it's citizen appointment to committees, boards, and authorities.
Fine, thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Durkee.
All right, a mover on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Any discussion on the motion? Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Item number 8.4, flag policy approval.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So at the committee level, when we discussed this policy, we wanted to align our policy with our practice. And so our flag policy will specifically put in place an adoption of the federal and provincial protocols around flags.
Councillor Cunningham.
I'll move that we approve flag policy F-046-10 as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Allen. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. All right, item number 8.5, solid waste resource collection and disposal bylaw S-088-02, first reading.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So at the committee level, the Executive Director of Waste Check was present along with our Director of Corporate Services, and we reviewed with Council that this is a brand new bylaw. It's not an amendment to our existing bylaw. And what that does, it brings our solid waste collection legislation in line with provincial legislation and creates uniformity across the region that we participate in. So I submit it to Council tonight for first reading, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion for approval. Let me try that one again. I'll make a motion to pass the first reading of the Solid Waste Resource Collection and Disposal Bylaw S-088-02.
Motion on the floor, seconded. Motion made by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Councillor Cushing.
I don't think so.
I just asked the CAO in this regards if this has to go to a public hearing or not. She's just quickly checking on this. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I don't think so.
It will go into second reading a month from now.
Yep. So just to second reading, no public hearing, Mr. Chair.
So is everyone clear on that? Any more discussion on the motion? Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Item number 9.1, February Development Report. You all have that in front of you. Is there any questions, comments, concerns? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the February Development Report as circulated. Councillor Allen?
I was just looking to make a motion to accept the development report as circulated.
All right, moved by Councillor Allen. Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Any question? Any comments, questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Item number 9.2, CAO report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you'll note that there was no document attached to your agenda, and I'd like to give my report verbally this month and follow with the written report, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman.
That's absolutely fine by me. Is any councillors any objections? Seeing none, continue please.
So there are four main areas that I wish to report to council on this evening. Primarily is around negotiations that the municipality has been involved in and that I've been working with various councillors on. And so we're actively working on regional emergency measures. We're actively working on the Yarmouth International Airport, and we're actively working with partners for a one-year operations plan at Cape for Shoe. There's also significant staffing work underway right now. As I shared with you at Committee of the Whole, we'll be engaging an intern for the summer to work with me out of the CAO's office. We received funding from Labour and Advanced Education for that position, and that individual will be a post-secondary student who will come to us early in May and be with us until Labor Day weekend. So I'm very excited about that. We have advertised for 4 positions at Cape for Shoe, and those postings will close in the next week or so. And the summer positions for recreation are also being posted. So we're busy on the staffing front. On the budget front, we're moving right along at the department level. The numbers are coming in. Now that we've got the federal and the provincial budgets, we've got our lovely letters from those partners. And so we'll be able to insert those numbers. The audit committee is set to meet on April the 11th. Our annual general meeting is set for May 7th, and we are on track to present a budget to council on May the 22nd. For policy and bylaw work, the most significant body of work we're involved in right now is a review of the subdivision bylaw with the Planning Advisory Committee. We have a very aggressive timeline on that body of work, and council will start to see material come forward in late spring, and our vision would be that we would complete the process before council takes a summer recess. And per your agendas, you can see internal policy and legislative work is well underway to get our winter's work complete before summer comes. So, Mr. Chairman, that's in a nutshell what we've been up to on your behalf.
Thank you very much, Madam CAO. It's quite a lengthy report, and you kind of took up some of my PAC report of what our timeline and stuff was going to be, because we did have a PAC meeting last night for the first time in quite a while. Councillor Cushing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your report, Madam CDAO. I just want to, you mentioned about the Cape Fichu, the lighthouse. You've been working on activities there, or programs there. I just want to, hope I can stress this enough to our council and to the public, that the partners that are presently involved with the municipality of Yarmouth running the lighthouse and the Cape Fichu project grasped this opportunity to enhance the experience at the Cape Fichu in the lighthouse as a learning progress, a learning in motion, and that it's with the consultant work that you're planning on having, I believe all involved with the Cape Fichu and the lighthouse down the road will really benefit from this effort, and I certainly like to thank council for their support and moving ahead. Let's continue to improve what we deliver, and our lighthouse in the Cape Fichu area is a facility that will be there for years and years to come when we're long gone. But if we have to keep improving on it, and I think the road you're going down right now, I think is very, very vital to make it all work. Thank you.
Any more questions or comments regarding the CAO report? Hearing none, thank you very much. Item number 9.3, YMCA request for bridge funding. You all have that in your packages in regards to that request, including the balance sheet, the member stats, the YMCA of Canada and Regional Development Center, and the Editis Group appraisal report. What is the wishes of council? Councillor Trevor Cunningham.
Right, I mean, I read through the report, and I know that the Y does provide a lot of good service to the public, including many people from the municipality district of Yarmouth. We have funded through our grants in the amount of $15,000, which is down from sort of a higher level a few years back, but that was contingent on the Y, you know, certainly having you know, additional fundraisers and those types of things. But long story short is I know they're really struggling with their infrastructure. We had talked about a big reno there 10 years ago or so. That never did happen, and my understanding is it's becoming more and more expensive. It was built in '67, and that's why we're partly why we're moving ahead with the Mariners Center expansion, simply to get a bigger, better, more efficient pool that isn't, you know, essentially totally depreciated. So the asset is not without its issues, and I'm sure it's a struggle to keep it going. I mean, there's water running through it all the time, heating, all those types of things. I don't know all the details, but I do know that it's probably a struggle for the Y to make ends meet. So having said that, I do have a soft spot. The ask is generally how it's structured in the letter is they need this much money from all three partners, from all three municipal councillors. They're saying in an ask to keep things running until they transition, or until the new facility is up and running at the Mariners Center. So having said that, I mean, our $15,000 grant per year is substantial, but I would like to see, you know, our three units get together and see, perhaps with a joint meeting, to see what we could do. That's a big ask, maybe too big for our budget. But having said that, I think I need a little bit more clarity around just what the ask is of the municipality district of Yarmouth, and then we can go from there.
I'm going to defer this before I get to Councillor Cushing. I'm going to defer this to the CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to Councillor Cushing's question, he just ended off there with
Councillor
around click.
Cunningham.
Sorry, Cunningham. I've been to Halifax and back today, so there were actually 3 asks in the correspondence that we received from the YMCA. So number 1 is for some support for some emergency bridge financing. Number 2 is some support for ongoing continued core financing. And number 3 is for a seat at the table of the Mariner Center Expansion Steering Committee. So I would recommend to Council tonight that you defer number 3 on their asks to the steering committee, who can respond to them, to their requests.
Councillor Cushing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wasn't going to say too much, but Councillor Cunningham brought up a good point. 1967, it's a Centennial Pool that was built. That's a long time ago. And just like anything else, any type of other facility, we need improvements. And there's no doubt in my mind that the pool is outlived its usefulness and needs to be replaced. And the fact where the steering committee is looking at an aquatic center at the Mariner Center expansion, I think is a wonderful opportunity. However, I gotta say that again, going down a road of improvements and changing, sometimes people don't like change, but I think there's an opportunity here for all 3 councils to how can we better help the YMCA or recreation delivery services that include all that to a higher level. Perhaps, I don't know, but I think it's worth looking into. The YMCA has been around for years. The old YMCA used to hold dances, which we used to attend when I was a young lad and behaving myself. So it's very important, and I think there's something that we should definitely be looking at. But as for the type of funding, I'm struggling with that for sure. So anyway, it's a very important part of our community.
Any comments, questions, concerns? Councillor Cunningham?
And I know they're talking about an ask of $150,000 to $200,000 among the town, the municipality of Yarmouth, and municipality of Argyle. Having said that, I mean, if maybe a better way is to is to respond to them by saying, are there some, you know, in the short term? Obviously, they're not building a new pool there. There's the Mariner Center upgrade is going to fulfill that need. But in the short term, are there some capital items, like, because we tend to like to fund capital items, are there some things that they know will need to be replaced to keep the pool running and operating? So are there those things? So that would make it easier, I think, for us to provide some funding. I mean, if we're asked, councillors, well, why are you giving the dollars? I'd like to have a more precise answer around why. I mean, and they've done a good job, don't get me wrong, in articulating in a letter, but it would be good to have an itemized list of the things that we're going to do as a municipality to go to and say, yeah, we can approve this amount for this sum over the next number of years until such time as we transition to a new facility. So just an idea. I'll let others respond to that.
Councillor Patty Durkee.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, in looking at what we pay per grant compared to the town of Yarmouth, and we do have, I'm sure, many people who attend and use the YMCA, I would certainly consider increasing the amount that we give, the $15,000. I think but we do have to be careful in terms of nonprofit organizations and holding them together, because if we do for one, then we have to do for another. However, I like the idea of, as Councillor Trevor Cunningham has suggested, that maybe if we were given specific projects that needed to be done, then that might be a better way for us to consider that, to say, okay, you know, we put the money not necessarily for their operating expenses, but for some smaller capital projects to keep the place afloat. That would be my recommendation, that I would like to know specifically as well, where the money, if we gave money, what would it go to?
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, from what I've heard up here, sitting as the chairman, I think that CAO has direction of asking the YMCA if there's any capital funding requests that they may have. As you all remember, our budgetary process is coming up very quickly, and if the CAO could get that information and we could include it in our budgetary discussions for the next fiscal year, which is actually ending this Saturday? So, Sunday, yeah. Councillor Trevor Cunningham.
And yeah, when we say capital items, I'm talking about not capital improvements over a very short period of time, but capital items like things that need to be replaced because of the age of the building over the next, I think that would be an easier fund, just for clarity's sake.
Okay, I guess my question is, CAO, do you have direction from council?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as long as I see 6 heads nodding, which I think it did.
Is that the consensus of council to move forward in that direction? That's the consensus of council. Thank you very much, everyone. I don't want to miss anything here. All right, item number 9.4, grants request. You have item 9.4.1, junior achievement, 9.4.2, Bay of Fundy Sea Kayak Symposium, item number 9.4.3, Yarmouth Hospital Foundation, item 9.4.4, Scouts Canada, and everyone please forgive me, this one's in French. Item number 9.4.5, Les Jardins des Petits. Item number 9.4.6, Yarmouth County Trail Development Association. Item number 9.4.7, South Ohio Community Center Society. Item number 9.4.8, Tri-County Mental Health and Wellness Association. What is the wishes of council? Councillor Daniel Allen.
Yes. I believe I would like to see us table these to our budgetary grant request day, I guess.
Yes.
Is that the proper way to refer to it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Are you making that a motion? Motion to defer?
Do we need a motion to defer that?
Yes, we do.
Okay, well, I'd like to make a motion to defer the grant request till our budgetary grant request.
Yep,
period.
absolutely. Moved by Councillor Lauren Cushing. Sorry, Trevor, I seen him first.
I will second to get the motion on the floor, but I have a question. The gala, is that going to be, we're going to be able to approve that and give them the funding in an appropriate amount of time if it goes to budget? I'm just wondering. I haven't.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. The gala is coming up. As soon as I can pull that open. Yeah, this is in regards to the rental of the Mariner Center. I'm looking quickly. You're absolutely right, Councillor Cunningham.
May 25th.
May 25th.
So our AGM, which is the day you'll deal with these grants, is May 7th. So even though you wouldn't ratify till you ratified the budget, we could certainly, move on council's decision that day.
Okay, so are you happy with that, Councillor Cunningham, or
I'm not sure what
would you
happened
like to
last
move
year.
that separately, that we pre-approve it before?
I think because we've always bought a table, it's been a practice of ours, I think I'd like to take it out of the motion, if that's all right. Pre-approve it, I mean, we've always done that, so, just so they know and can,
Yes.
Okay,
in advance, if that's all right by the mover.
so I'll ask the mover and seconder, is that okay just to remove that one item in regards to moving this to the budget request? Is that okay by the mover and seconder to remove that one item, the Yarmouth Foundation? Councillor Allen.
So you want to remove it and then act on it tonight? Because I don't believe that I'm quite prepared to act on it tonight.
And we could debate it at committee of the whole, council.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're not willing to remove that?
Well, no,
one particular
I am
piece?
willing to remove it, but I don't think I'm willing to make the motion. Or I guess it
Okay.
wouldn't be up to me to make that motion, so as far as actually acting on agreeing with it or not.
Yeah, I mean, we've got time, so, yeah, we remove that and then move it to committee of the whole.
Yeah, no, I'd agree to remove it from my motion and then move it to committee of the whole for further discussion.
Councillor Cushing, is that all right by the seconder to remove that one item, the hospital gala? Since the motion is revised, I'm going to ask Liz, does she have that in her motion? Okay, so the motion is to move forward with all the grant requests except for the hospital foundation. So is everyone clear on what they're voting on right now? All right. Waiting for the question. Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. All right, since we left out item 9.4.3, Yarmouth Hospital Foundation, what is the wishes of the council in that regards to that grant request? Do you wish to move that to the committee of the whole? I'm going to ask staff, do you need a motion on that regards, or just move that directly there?
If we have consensus, that's fine.
Okay, so item number 9.4.3, the Hospital Foundation will be our next committee of the whole meeting, which would be the second Wednesday of April. Thank you very much, council. There's none there that's left out. Councillor Patty Durkee.
Thank you. My only concern is that I'm sure they're looking for, I mean, basically this is to purchase tickets for a table at the gala, which takes place March 25th. And my concern is about the sale of the tickets, because that usually, is that not ongoing now, or is there a date that we know of that tickets need to be purchased by?
Well, that's the request, is for $1,200, which purchases a whole table at the gala. Council could move on that tonight, and then council could decide on what to do with the tickets at a later date. It's so the ask is for $1,200 to buy a table at the gala. That's the ask.
What is the wishes of the council? Someone willing to make a motion tonight to approve that one request for already pre-approve it for next year's budget considerations? Because we've done that in the past.
Yes, I would make a motion. Sorry, Dan, but I'm concerned that this is for tickets and we don't want to put it off too long, because I'm sure they want to know, or they'd have to sell the tickets that we would normally take or to somebody else. So we don't want to leave that to the last minute.
So did you make that a motion?
I made that a motion.
So you made that a motion that we accept the $1,200 request for a table and place that on next year's grant request.
As been done in the past.
Has been done in the past. Do I have a seconder on that motion?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Any discussion on the motion? I see Councillor Cushing's microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, we're gonna help sponsor this by buying a table. Now, what we do with those tickets will be up to us at a later date. So, yeah, that's okay. As long as we support them, that's all I'm looking for. Okay.
Councillor Daniel Allen.
Yes, I understand what Councillor Durkee is saying. I just, within 2 weeks, if they've sold the tickets, I think that's great, and then we could probably use our money to help them in another way. I just don't want to see us... I want to support this event, but I don't want us to just buy a table and then not use the tickets, which, correct me if I'm wrong, last year, I think we had issues with getting rid of our tickets. Did we, or did we not?
Didn't they go to staff last year?
No, I don't think anyone from our council went.
I don't know if the warden went or not last year.
Yep.
I know I didn't.
So tickets got donated, and Councillor Cushing, you were there with a guest. So was the table full? No. So we could make sure that the table's full. So I briefly remember some of this discussion because I was just joining the team at the time last year, and I think last April, there was discussion at either council or committee the whole last April about what to do with the tickets, and staff were directed to donate them. We would probably move now if council was purchasing a table of tickets and councillors didn't want to go, we would move to make sure those tickets were well used.
Okay.
Any more discussion on the motion? Question being called on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Item number 9.5, low income tax exemption policy L-068-09.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So every year this policy comes before council because Schedule A gets updated by the cost of living. So the document attached to your agendas this evening includes the figures up to 2017. And last spring, council approved an increment of 2.2%, which meant your 2018 exemption level, which means the income level, was $21,353.30. So households that had $21,353.30 in income and below qualified based on income for your tax exemption. So this year I'm recommending again that the CPI increment be 2.2%, which would increase the income threshold on the policy from $21,353.30 to $21,823.07.
Councillor Durkee.
I'll make a motion to approve the low income exemption policy L-068-09.
Moved by Councillor Durkee. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cushing. Any question on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Item number 9.6, Clean Nova Scotia Foundation Agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the agreement that will complete the framework for the Property Assessed Clean Energy Program Council approved. You have a bylaw in place, and this agreement will provide us with a vendor who will perform the energy audits and administer the requirements of the bylaw on our behalf. It's a revenue neutral and a cost neutral document.
What is the wishes of council? Councillor Cunningham.
So I'll move that the municipality of District of Yarmouth authorize our CAO to execute the contract between Clean Nova Scotia Foundation and the District of Yarmouth.
Mover, do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Allen. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Item number 9.7, request for decision Uncollectible taxes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a property in the municipality that was tied up in some complications around survey documents and legal documents, and as a result, we were never able to move it during tax sale. Because of some movement in terms of an estate, we have a new owner of the property who's come forward and who has indicated a willingness to keep property taxes current on that property if we could forgive the outstanding taxes, interest, and costs. So my briefing note outlines that the irregularities occurred basically as a result of lack of information at the survey level and on the assessment record. So I'm requesting council write off $7,508.77 on assessment number 101-20675, land Chabot Road, Kelly's Cove, in the interest of moving forward and collecting future taxes.
What is the wishes of the council? Councillor Cunningham.
So I'll move on the recommendation of the CAO that the tax arrears related to 2017 and earlier interest and expenses for AAN number 101200675 be written off as uncollectible.
Mover, do I have a seconder on that motion?
Sure.
Seconded by Councillor Durkee. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Item number 9.8, request for a decision, major recreation infrastructure project, human resource needs. CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as the steering committee for the Mariner Center expansion project is moving forward, we have some needs in order to write an application and submit it to the federal government for the capital funding to support the expansion. So the request for decision put before you provides for a budget of up to $40,000 on the part of MODI, which would support the costs associated with fulfilling the application.
What is the wishes of council? Councillor Durkee?
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve the request for funds for staffing for this, the major recreation infrastructure project.
I have a mover, do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Allen. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, the motion should include the ceiling, the limit up to 40,000.
Thank you very much.
Okay, is that okay
Accepted.
with the mover? Is that okay with the seconder? Any discussion on the motion? Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, item number 9.9. Request from YASTA is what I had written down, but I can't seem to find what I wrote. Councillor LeBlanc, I believe you had asked to have that item 9.9 added to the agenda. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. We had a YASTA meeting yesterday. It was quite interesting. I'm going to ask Councillor Durkee. She was there as an observer. She's not a member, but she listened very carefully to what was said. Please help me if you can, Ms. Durkee. It was said that the economic impact survey that's done by the province it's not representing Yarmouth as we'd like, or this area, or Southwest Nova, and we think it's very essential that we should have a survey of our own. And but it's going to cost some money, and I can't remember what the amount was going to be, around $15,000-$20,000, and it's not in the YASTA budget. This is not something that YASTA can afford. But we find it essential that we need that survey with all the chaos that's going around with the parties right now about the tourists, about the ferry, and that, and it's not helping the situation in this area. So we would like to ask council if they would have $3,000 towards this economic impact survey. I'm gonna ask Patty to elaborate on that, please.
Thank you very much, Deputy Warden and Councillor LeBlanc. We know that in the last, since 1950, every time we get a ferry, everybody fights against us. It's been ongoing. It has never changed. I have documentations and news articles to show that this has been ongoing since the ferry started, whether it was for a new ferry, continued ferry service, whatever it is. People in the rest of the province don't understand the economic impact that the ferry service has on Nova Scotia, period. They don't realize that the majority of people who come across on the ferry, yes, they stay with us 1.8 nights, but they spend the rest of the time, the rest of usually a week, a good part of a week, traveling the province. And a lot of that time is spent in Halifax, even though the people in Halifax are constantly complaining about money going towards the ferry service. So YASTA had a discussion yesterday and said that there has been the government actually has not done a full economic impact study, and the reason being partially is because there has been such inconsistency in the service. When we went from the Nova Star, which went under, then we had a bad year with all the mechanical difficulties on the CAT, and now we have to switch from Portland to Bar Harbor, that has been very difficult to actually show the numbers, the effect that tourism has on our province, and particularly Southwest Nova, because that's the most important. And we're talking about Digby around to Lockport. And so YASTA would like to initiate our own impact, economic impact study, so that we can show the benefit, the economic benefit. We know that there are issues with the actual ferry making money, and but we need to prove to everyone how good tourism is for the area. We know that it's number 2, it's behind the fishing industry. We know that's really important, but we also know that tourism is on the up, especially in this area, and we hate to lose that. So it was recommended that we speak to, that YASTA speak to the different municipalities in the area to ask to have this done. The minimum amount for a study like this, it was suggested, would be about $15,000. So each municipality is going to be asked if they would be willing to contribute $3,000, so that we have the proof in itself to show and share with everybody how important this is to our area.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This YASTA request certainly streams right along with the municipality of Yarmouth's direction with Cape Fichu Light and Lighthouse. Economic impact study. Very important to see how much money is being spent in this area. Back in the day, when the lighted ball fields were constructed, well, one of my projects I had when I was working with the town, and we did an economic impact study of hotels and restaurants and in this area. And at that time, this is back in 93, I believe, is when they were built. When it was given to me to work on. And I think at that time, every person that came to Yarmouth to attend a tournament, to play ball and whatnot, I think it was at that time, I think it was $135 per person. That was back in 92 or 93. I can't remember exactly when the date was. So can you imagine what the impact is now for this area? You know, it's just, I think it's a well worth cause to do. It flows along with what we're trying to do, trying to improve, and I certainly like to see the town and the other partners jump on board this too and make it happen. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful idea to do.
Councillor Daniel Allen. Oh, Councillor Durkee, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Just very quickly to add on to Councillor Cushing's point. If someone drops $279 in town, which they do automatically, that basically is equal to the cost of the subsidy on the ferry. So for every, so what they're saying is that people in the province are actually leaving behind well over $2,000. It's closer to $2,700, I believe, and these are from studies that are being done, from exit interviews from the ferry. We're collecting all that information already, but it just needs to be put into a good report so that everybody understands it.
Councillor Allen.
Yes, I couldn't agree that the ferry is very important to our area. The only problem I have with this whole thing is we probably have a process or a policy as to how we get a request like this, and I would like to see that process followed by ASTA. I believe we should have something in writing, and no offense to you, Councillor LeBlanc, I understand where it's coming from, but we have a process that we need to follow first, regardless whether it's the ferry or what it is. Or I shouldn't say the ferry, this isn't the ferry, this is an economic study we want to do. So I would I'd like to do my due diligence and actually have an actual application for this money come through.
Right.
Councillor Cunningham.
I was about to say a very similar thing. Councillor Allen's correct, I think, and but I agree with everybody else in a sense too. It's just the timing of it. I think conceptually it's a fantastic thing because you know, I do agree that it goes along with exactly what we're thinking, and we need more evidence as to the value and of the subsidy and all these other things. And in fact, we're putting money into the ferry terminal itself, so it would have been nice to have that even prior to us spending those big dollars. So it's a fairly small ask. But what I will say is that I would like to, before we approve any dollars, I'd like to see a written document request come from YASTA, so that we've got it, because I'm never ever comfortable, even though it is conceptually a good ask, I think, and I don't have a big issue with it. I think we need to, is doing our due diligence, be able to point to what we're funding exactly. I mean, and also the scope of it. So I know we talked about from you know, from Digby to, and that's important for us, but it is a Nova Scotia ferry, so I don't know how that works into it, and maybe even a presentation, because I think it's important that we fund the right study, and we're sure that the dollars are going to for the right study, for the right impact, for the right information. So that's what I'll say. So I do agree with Councillor Allen there.
Councillor Gerard LeBlanc.
Yeah, we were aware of that, and that's Neil's going to have one. He'll have a request for that.
So what is the wishes of the council? You're going to be waiting for the requests from YASTA? Thank you very much, Councillor Allen, Councillor Cunningham. You seem to be reading my mind. and one thing that I did think of this, could it not be included as an amendment to the budgetary ask in regards to what YASTA is going to be asking for in the next upcoming, they could ask for an amendment, an add-on, because we haven't gone through that process yet, obviously, and maybe I'm wondering if that could be brought forward to the chair and CEO, and I see the CEO have their arm up, and I don't know if she's going to slap me or not, but anyway, go ahead.
Not at all. What I was going to suggest was I kind of like that it's as a special project, because as Councillor LeBlanc suggested, the reach for support for this project is going to go beyond the membership of YASTA, and the members fund YASTA's budget. So the fact that it's going to be framed as a special project, I kind of like that it's outside of the core budget, because there will be an ask, if I understood Councillor LeBlanc correctly, to go to other municipalities to help support the study. So I kind of like that it's outside of the budget for that reason only. And yeah, I'm sure Neil can find us in order to get the package to submit. I don't think it's time sensitive. It can wait and go through our normal process, right?
Councillor Durkee?
I think so. I mean, we're having that, our budget, as long as we get it before our budget, I think that would be help if we can.
But if it's not part of their budget,
it's not part of
Right.
YASTA. But
So-
and I think that's the whole question. I agree that with Daniel as well, that needs to be in writing. The question is how do they make that request? What are they asking for? Because it's not a grant as such. It doesn't just go through that process. So what direction?
well, it would be great if it was a grant ask, because it's a special project for a broader group of municipalities.
Okay, so that's so that's what we need to know, how to take back to them. How do we actually go through that
And
process?
Sure. I don't mean to jump in, but if you all remember that when we go through our grant request, we have one thing that's actually specified as tourism grants that we
Right.
do use, so just that as a reminder. Not sure whose microphone's flashing. Councillor Allen.
Just a quick question on something you just said. You just said it's not part of YASTA.
No, YASTA's going to take care, but not be part of the YASTA budget.
Okay, yes, but YASTA is going to head it up.
Yes.
Okay, right, yes, okay,
Sorry,
great.
I-
No, sorry, no, that's fine.
Councillor LeBlanc. Nope.
That's all right.
All right, is there any more discussion on that request? Okay, so we'll be waiting for the ask from YASTA. Thank you very much. Okay. That was the last additional item that was asked to be added to the agenda. So now we're going to move on to reports. So you have in front of you all the committee reports, the committees that were meeting. Friends of Yarmouth Light, Mariner Center Management Authority, Regional Solid Waste Authority, Western Counties Regional Library, the Western Regional Economic Network, Yarmouth Area Industrial Commission, Yarmouth Acadian Shores Tourism Association, Yarmouth County Solid Waste Management Authority, Yarmouth International Airport Corporation. Is there any reports from committee chairs on any of those committees? Councillor Durkee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I attended a meeting of the Western Regional Counties Regional Library, and we were discussing the budget requests that had come out by the province. And that actually is a working budget request. They have not finalized that because there had been a letter that we had received from another district saying that we were concerned about the process that they had followed through without consulting. Well, the idea is for them to put this draft out, and that's part of their consulting process. So they want people to get back to them. What was mentioned is that there was one section, and I can just, the funding has, first of all, the funding has been stagnant for many, many years, and that's why I know the percentage seems high. They also wanted to mention that the formula included the French language grant, and that they think that the formula had to be rejigged to not include that and will come out again. So the chair, Jimmy McAlpine, is suggesting that it be phased in, increases instead of having this one massive increase all at once. And he wanted to make sure that everybody knows that the government is finally listening to libraries and that there's been nothing given for a long, long time. And they were really, really pleased with the meetings that they had been having. And core services were reviewed with experts, and the report needs to be released to see how the funding formula came about, because we don't really know that. They also felt that they have to explain the value and importance of what the funding means, where it's going, how the money would be spent. NSFM says that they weren't consulted, but this information has been is a proposal. And so what they want is people to actually look at this proposal and give them feedback. So it's not like you have to say yay or nay to the proposal. It's, here it is. Please review it and give us feedback on your thoughts. The issue has been in the past that there's been absolutely nothing. And so they're going through a catch-up period, quite frankly. And people have to look at libraries in the changing light now, because there's so many different types of resources that people are using. It's not just go in, grab a book and read it. It's really important for digital resources in all 8 regions of in Western County. So that's what they're looking for, is please review it carefully, give the feedback of what you think, but keep in mind that they're behind in what they've been receiving. And the libraries have been existing on bare minimums. In fact, their staff funding is really low. So anyway, that's what they're looking for.
Thank you very much, Councillor Durkee, on that very good report. One thing I must remember is, or I should ask, is they still have the bookmobile that, remember years and years ago? No, that's what I'm asking as a serious question. Is that something that's still going on, or is it all changed over to the digital formats?
I'm actually, I don't know. I know it's been 10 years since there's been an increase. The province has just given small grants. Again, the document is a proposal. Their wages are below, I found some more information, below living wages. It provides public access. So, and now also they're desperately in need of a refresh of computers. You can actually borrow digital books now, which they never had before. Branches are open longer. Many of the people on income assistance are using the libraries. They're very important for low income and seniors. It provides social time. And also, yeah, a lot of people are using the computers, and new parents are making connections with kids. So it's a lot more than just a library. It's a community center as well.
Oh, absolutely.
I can't answer that question with the bookmobile because I honestly don't know.
Mr. Chairman, I think I have the answer.
Go ahead.
The CEO.
I quickly Googled it, and Wikipedia tells us that the Western Counties Regional Library began with 5 staff in 1969 and has grown to 60 full-time and part-time employees. Over the years, services were added such as bookmobiles, which were replaced by Library Express, visits to hospitals, senior residents, schools. So Library Express is where you actually order your book online and it comes to you in the mail.
See, it's very interesting. And then that wasn't a smart remark question. It was an actual question that I had on my mind, because I remember as a kid growing up, and I know times have changed. I'm not that old, but I do remember the bookmobile, and I was just curious if that's gone on, or if they've renamed the project where the times have changed. So it was a legitimate question. I'm not sure whose mic is flashing next. Councillor Allen.
Well, Deputy Warden, I got to agree, I remember the bookmobile as well. I used to come to Melbourne Church every Saturday morning. Every second Saturday morning. Let me apologize. We could get a book for 2 weeks. I just want to let you know that we had a Mariner Center board meeting on March 13th. We are very happy to see that Mayor Pam Mood and CAO Jeff Gushu and our CAO, Victoria Brooks, were present to answer some questions in regards to the Mariner Center expansion and steering committee. We are informed that we are in the middle of a lighting retrofit. It should be done by the end of March. They had to apply for an extension to the grant to get it in by a certain date. They're expecting to see about $15,000 in savings per year on their energy from the lighting changeover. Ribfest is a go. They are going to also be holding a craft show in one of the arenas during Ribfest, just to make it a bigger event. So, and I guess everybody knows, or if they don't know, hopefully they'll get out, and Tanya Tucker's coming. So, Delta Dawn, here we come, I guess. But as of March 13th, and the tickets were only on sale for a while, they had sold 700 by March 13th. So ticket sales were going really well, hoping for a sellout crowd, so I'm just kind of hoping everyone gets out and supports.
I do have a dumb question, Councillor Allen. What is a sellout for the event? Was that number, how many people do you have to, or tickets do you have to sell for it to be a sellout?
I don't know, but I'll bet
I
our
do.
CAO knows.
The CAO must have Googled that as well.
No, I paid attention. Just kidding. Just kidding. 1,700. There are only 1,700 seats. There's only room for 1,700 people to go see Tanya Tucker.
I think what he was asking was how many tickets do we have to sell to break even?
Oh, sell out.
Sell out.
Sell out.
Okay. Yeah, 17. I knew that. There's a break-even number I didn't know.
You gotta remember, you have a new chair sitting up here, so since I am the chair, I love putting people on the spot. Bookmobile, sellout, you know. My apologies. Council meetings, in my opinion, are supposed to be fun.
We're getting tired.
Councillor Gerard LeBlanc.
Thank you. As I said earlier, we had a meeting yesterday. One of the things that was discussed last year, radio stations from Portland, even though the ferry is not going there again this year, it's going to Bar Harbor. They're going to. YASTA going to invite the radio stations again, the representatives from, I think it's 7 radio stations, and they had it at Trout Point last year, and Trout Point is interested in hosting again that place, and hopefully I'll be invited again to go to that. I really enjoyed meeting the people, and it's good publicity for the New England states. You know, they advertise the ship in the area, Yarmouth and Nova Scotia, and so let's hope that happens. Another thing, there's a lot of chaos going about, you know, the ferry now, and the parties are fighting, and YASTA doesn't feel that the 2 representatives from Yarmouth, from Sawis Nova here from Yarmouth, are not fighting hard enough for the ferry. So we would like to put more pressure on Zach and Chris also. Chris represents this area as much as Zach does. So we're going to invite Chris and Zach to a YASTA meeting along with other tourist operators from Argyle to have a discussion, and you know, with Zach and Chris. So then we had the budget, and that's about all we, then the rest I talked about earlier. So that's my report on YASTA.
Thank you, Rod. Councillor LeBlanc. Councillor Lauren Cushing.
I noticed on the list of committees, Yarmouth and Acadian Shores Tourist Association, members Warden Anthony and Councillor Cushing. I'm not on that board. Councillor LeBlanc is on that board.
Thank you very much for that.
Yep.
All right, any other committee reports in that group? We also have other advisory committees, the Advisory Audit Committee, the CAO Committee, Doctor Recruitment and Retention Committee, EMO Executive Committee, Heritage Advisory Committee, Green Energy Committee, Marketing and Promotions Levy Advisory Committee, Planning Advisory Committee, Joint County Police Advisory Committee, and the Yarmouth Recreation. Any reports in that regard? Councillor Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the short time that our committee has been together for doctor recruitment and retention, we have learned so much. It's been pretty amazing, I have to say, and we've got an amazing team who are willing to work really hard. So special thanks to, we've got a member of the REN, we've got the 3 municipalities, we've got doctors, and the Chamber of Commerce is really doing amazing things to try to support doctor recruitment. We did an exit interview with a doctor who's leaving. We have a number of doctors leaving in the next little while, unfortunately. And the information shared with us was that Yarmouth is great, the hospital is great, it's not that people don't want to come here. They said, he's basically said that the issue is when doctors are coming from other countries, that it's called defining license. And the issue is that when they come from somewhere else, it doesn't matter how long they've been working there, in 5 years, after working under another doctor for 5 years, they have to write an exam. And because they've taken their exam, and maybe English isn't their first language, they're having a really difficult time writing that exam because, and they don't pass, because the exam is generally made up for people who have trained in Canada. So can you imagine being even in your 40s and 50s and you've been practicing medicine and then someone tells you, okay, well, you have to write an exam. Well, they don't want to come here and do that. They don't. And there are other provinces where they don't have to do that. So New Brunswick is one of them. So you may have very highly qualified, proficient doctors who have never had an issue anywhere where they work. And what they have to do is, after their 5 years, they either write an exam or go somewhere else. Now in Alberta, they have their license, their permanent license after working 5 years. So that was one of the big concerns, because the person who we spoke to said, I have so many doctors that I know that would come here in a minute if they didn't have to go through the hassle. So what we're doing, the committee is doing, is we're going to be putting together a letter with that concern and sharing it with the municipalities, and in hope that the municipality will share it with other municipalities so that we can make that case to say the process to come and work here is too rigorous, and maybe that's what this is all being done by the College of Physicians, and it wasn't like that until 2009. But since then, it's very hard for doctors who are trained somewhere else to set up practice in Nova Scotia. So that's one of the big issues why we are having such a hard time getting doctors here. The other thing that he mentioned, he said, you know, you have to look at lifestyles. Everybody chooses where they're going to live or what they're going to do. And in terms of retention, you know, if you have your family here and you can bring other family members from away and you can set up a whole community of support people, then that works well. But he said sometimes when people come, they've spent their few years and they want to move on to something different. He said you can't prevent that from happening no matter what you do. But he said what you have to do is to have other doctors on deck ready to come. So if someone's leaving, then you know in advance that they're leaving, then you can have someone else ready to go. So the good news is that with the new budget, they've allotted more openings through Dalhousie, and they're the ones who control how many positions they have for doctors going through school. But the College of Physicians, their concern is new doctors coming in. So that's something that needs to be addressed with the levels of government with the provincial government and with the College of Physicians. So we're going to be looking at that. Also, we have created a terms of reference, which is in your package, for the actual committee. We tried to make it brief and to the point. And basically what it says is that this committee is an advisory committee, and the vision is that every resident in Yarmouth County will have access to primary and secondary healthcare providers at the local level. More specifically, the recruitment of family physicians is a critical cornerstone of balanced healthcare services. So we're going to be engaging with stakeholders that can help come together and put together some, for example, when a doctor's coming to visit, we're going to put on the dog, as they say, put a nice show, make sure they get to know the community, what we have available. The chamber's looking at packages of things that they're going to put together as incentives. If someone wants to go out on a flight, then we'll find someone to take them on a flight. If they want to go for a tour of the harbor in a boat, then we'll find somebody to do that. So the Chamber of Commerce is more or less taking over that. And they're looking at housing, because housing is a big issue here. That when doctors are coming here, including residents, they're having a really hard time finding adequate rentals. And so they're looking at possibly looking for plots of land and encouraging developers to build apartments specifically for the doctor residents that come. And the discussion will be with the foundation to say, look, can we help fund some of this? Because when residents come here from Halifax, they still have to maintain their apartment in Halifax. So is there a place where they can stay that somebody could support them? Can the foundation participate? Can the municipalities help with those things? We want to make it look really good down here, and I think everybody is on board with that. So basically, we're looking for our councils to make a motion to approve this terms of reference so that we can continue to move forward. And essentially, we're an advisory group. We'll take information and then we'll have people working on it, and we'll bring back the information to the councils to make decisions on if there are incentives that are needed, as there have been in the past.
Councillor Durkee, did you make that a motion, or are you recommending
I don't know
that
if
it goes
I can.
to a motion, or do you recommend that it goes committee of the whole for discussion and then recommendation?
I can't answer that because I don't know. I don't know if I can make a motion because I'm the chair of the committee, or what's the direction? Can I do that?
Sure. So the chair of the PAC makes PAC motions at council.
Okay, so I can.
So, yep, you can make that motion if you wish. Yep.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that council approve the Yarmouth County Health Services Recruitment and Retention Committee terms of reference.
Motion on the floor, moved by Councillor Patty Durkee, seconded by Councillor Gerard LeBlanc. Any discussion on that motion? I don't know whose mic is flashing first. Councillor Cushing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councillor Durkee, great job. I've learned more about doctor recruitment and retention and this 2-minute explanation that you gave us in my whole lifetime. And it's that 5-year exam they have to write for, I find that kind of bizarre sort of thing. Like, if they don't know how to be a doctor in 5 years' time, they shouldn't be a doctor in the first place. Oh, good job. Thank you.
Councillor Cunningham.
So I didn't actually see this review this as close as I should have prior to coming tonight. But we're approving the terms of reference for the committee, which I don't know if, can the CAO speak to a little bit to this? I don't know how appropriate that is. Is it appropriate for council to approve the terms of reference of an organization? I know we have a member sitting on it. Is that something that we normally do?
So if I understood it correctly, when the committee was revitalized, the CAOs actually discussed it together, and the notion was that because it was involving essentially a level of partnership, that just to understand what the committee the committee's role is and how they'll bring back things to council when necessary, that the terms of reference would be spelt out. It's a visible committee, so it's great that council ratify the terms of reference because it's a key piece in the community infrastructure.
No, that's good. I just wanted to ask the question.
I don't know whose mic was flashing. Councillor LeBlanc.
You must have done a good job in recruiting. I just had the experience yesterday, 2 days ago. I had to go see my doctor and found out that my doctor was on vacation. And there was a new doctor there replacing him for the 2 weeks he's on vacation. And I had a discussion with the doctor where she was from, and from Ottawa, and so you're just here for a replacement, or no? We're here from, we're going to stay here. She was from Ottawa. Her husband is from Switzerland, and they came here, and they are making Yarmouth their home. I was very impressed with that.
Councillor Patty Durr.
I have so much I could share with you that I have learned about doctor recruitment, but you know, due to time constraints, I don't want to go on. But if you have any questions, please ask me. But please know that our committee is going to work really hard to do the best we can. One of the things we found out today, which is great, is that there's been one recruiter for the area from all of the southwestern Nova Scotia Valley, from Kentville all the way down to Bridgewater. So they've just hired another person who we met today, which is great. So they're going to share the Yarmouth area. The other good news is that there was a doctor that we took for a tour, it's probably just over a month ago. He has decided to move here, so that will be happening in June. But it's unbelievable. Even information that the recruiters don't have. One of the things we talked about today that we found out is that other areas have been going to some of the conferences where they recruit doctors, like Guysborough and Colchester and CBRM. We didn't know that was even a consideration. That can we go set up a booth with them? You know, not that we want to spend that money, but the whole idea is we need to sell our area, and if we're not there, we can't do that. And the doctor recruiters are just there to sell Nova Scotia. But if we're allowed to go, then somebody should be going. Let's jump on that and see what we can do. But I'm really, really pleased with the support of the members of the committee and how everybody is really passionate about it.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councillor Durkee, what I'm really happy to hear about is that our committee is gelling together as a team, and that some of the systemic problems with recruiting healthcare professionals in Nova Scotia are coming to light, and the committee will be well organized enough to lobby and advocate for those kinds of changes that will allow people who want to practice in our community to practice without too many barriers.
All right, there's a motion on the floor already. I do have one comment myself, seeing no others. I too missed that part in the committee reports, and I personally would prefer that we defer this, in my own personal opinion, we defer this to the committee of the whole section, just to have a little bit of time to read over it, and maybe there might be a couple other questions or additions. And don't get me wrong, I'm full support in moving forward with the terms of reference. I personally would prefer, where I didn't have enough time to go over the actual request, to have a little bit more time. That's just my own personal opinion. However, if council decides to move forward with approving the terms of reference as per the motion was put forward, they certainly can do that, and I would be in support of that. That's just my own personal comment. So, Councillor Cunningham?
What I can say is I did just quickly review it. It's pretty benign. It's good, but there's nothing in it that worries or concerns me. The only thing I was concerned about was the actual process, and our CAO answered that question, and so I think we can, Mr. Chair, respectfully vote on it tonight. I don't have any issue. The only thing with moving to committee of the whole is we can't actually approve it there, so it's another month, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, Councillor Cunningham, I do believe it's benign, but I had missed this in the agenda, going over a whole bunch of other things. I didn't expect to chair the meeting tonight, so that's quite all right. What is the wishes of council? Motion on the floor. Ready for the question? Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Is there any other committee reports by chairs in that? I do have one. I'm the PAC chair, so please bear with me. We did have a meeting, when was it? Yes, it was last week. I had it written down here on March the 5th. And first of all, we welcomed the new member, Patty Simpson, new member of the PAC committee. We have not met in quite some time, and also was our first time to have a meeting with our new intern planner, Morris Lloyd. And I got to admit something here, since I'm a little tired. I was obviously tired that night. I called him by the name of Lloyd as his first name. However, he straightened me out on that, and anyway, one of the main issues on the PAC agenda, and you all have it in your package, is the subdivision bylaw review. On that, there was a timeline and work program. I'm going to read through that. It's also on our online agenda. It was suggested that this time frame and work program was adopted. The CAO had touched on this, but I want to give you the dates. March 19th, there's a presentation to PAC, the agenda, to discuss the background and review of the list of issues to date, discuss consultation program with public, business community, and adjacent municipalities to gain approval. And also on the timeline and work program, March 20th to April the 23rd, implement a consultation program and prepare the report and distribute it to the PAC. I had mentioned to the new intern planner, Mr. Morris Lloyd, that I would be away starting on April the 20th. As you all well aware, I've booked some time away. March the 27th, the presentation to update council, that's what I'm doing tonight. April 23rd, the PAC to review the results of the consultation review program and recommendations with respect to possible amendments to current bylaws. As also the CAO alluded to, is May 21st, revised subdivision bylaw review by the PAC, and May 22nd, revised subdivision bylaw to council for adoption process. And in June, public hearing for the adoption revised bylaw. The reason why we have to have a public hearing is because it's just like any other document. It has to go for a public hearing, and if anyone that attends that has some disapprovals, they have 14 days after council approves it. So it's almost like redoing a whole new. It is redoing the whole new bylaw. This is something that's been on the PAC's docket ever since we passed the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaws 5 years ago. As you all remember, we've had a lot of concerns and comments in regards to getting this done, and we're finally getting it done. It's a lot of work. It's a very short timeline, but I believe the PAC committee can do it, and very happy to move forward with this. And one thing I wanted to mention with the consultation review, developers and surveyors, municipal departments, neighborhood groups, the Chamber of Commerce, environmental groups, and neighboring municipalities, and the REN will also be contacted during the consultation review. It's very important that all these groups are consulted. If there's any other groups that any other council member thinks or may that we should discuss or have a chat with, please let me know so I can advise Morris, because he's currently doing the review. And that's from a report for the PAC committee. Councillor Durkee.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I do have another report. I'll take 20 minutes.
Don't say unfortunately, but
I'll make it quick. I've attended 2 marketing promotions levy advisory committee meetings, and at the last meeting we approved the operating budget for YASTA. of our portion, which was $77,750. We also made a motion to support Music Week, just a letter for support, and also money to accompany the bids. There's a chance that Music Week, there's 3 years, so that there's a proposal going for 3 years, so we don't know if we could get one, we could get all three. What was discussed that was great about this area is that everything is within walking distance, so people really like coming down here because the venues are so accessible. And with the Colony reopening, that makes it, we'd have more places for people. So we're pretty excited about that. There has been a number of different events that the MPLAC has supported, and we're almost at the maximum contribution of $15,000 by the end of the fiscal year, which is Sunday. So we've done very well. And we really want people to know that there is money available for events that are happening. Again, the whole concept of putting heads in beds, the more events we can have here, the more money it generates. That's it.
Councillor Durkee, it's funny you mentioned heads in beds. This is not a committee report, but it's something that I wanted to mention to the YASTA representative. It's Gerard and Patty, you are the alternate. I did attend a police advisory committee meeting for mutual aid last Thursday. And they are going to put in a bid for the annual general meeting down in this end of the province. As you all remember, that the last time we held this, I'm not sure if all you councillors were there, but we needed approximately 400 hotel rooms over a weekend. And unfortunately, since Rod Grand Hotel on the harbor had closed, we didn't have quite enough hotel rooms to host an event like this. So however, I'm going to forward the information to you, Gerard, of the contact person who's going to be putting in that bid, because it was approved by all the fire departments in the Mutual Aid Society. And I said that I would forward it off to our committee members and the chair, and yeah, and I certainly will. I just wanted to point that out because we're talking about heads in beds and events down the area. And this, with all the good news that we've heard lately, this is something that actually this group can put forward. It's not something that's going to happen within the next year. They have to put in the bid process now for an event back up to 2021, I believe it would be, when they would have it. So there's a lot of lead time, but it's also a lot of work for the mutual aid chair. And I said that we've got people here to help. We've got events coordinators and stuff in YASTA, and it's something that we've always had a mandate to do. So I just wanted to point that out. Councillor Cushing.
It won't take long. Just to let you know also that on May the 9th, 10th, and the 11th and 12th of May, the Knights of Columbus are having their state convention here, which will bring in probably close to 300 people with their spouses and stuff. So that's another event that's coming up.
All right, 3 more committees left on the ad hoc, AMI work, asset management cohort, fence arbitration committee, and municipal alcohol project. Any reports from those committee chairs? All right, hearing none. Item number 11, in-camera recommendations. CAO is going to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A recommendation out of in-camera from the CAO is that council grant a 60-day extension from March 31st to May 31st of the Yarmouth International Airport Corporation agreement with the municipality of Yarmouth, the town of Yarmouth, and the municipality of Argyle. That the goal of the extension is to arrive at an agreement providing for continued partnership in the operations of the Yarmouth International Airport. That the approved budget for that period be a prorated amount of $680,000, and that all other terms of the existing agreement remain in force for that period.
Councillor Cunningham.
So I'll move that the Municipality District of Yarmouth extend the current Yarmouth International Airport Corporation agreement for a period of 60 days to May 31st, 2019, with an improved budget of $680,000 prorated for the 2 months. All other terms of the existing agreement will remain in force.
have a mover, do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Durkee. Any questions on the motion? Any comments? Councillor Allen.
Just a couple comments, I guess. I'm glad we're moving forward with the airport. I think it's a very important piece of infrastructure in our area. I know it's not as highlighted as the ferry, but I believe it's something that we shouldn't be going without. We're giving this an extension. I'm kind of disappointed that we haven't already had this taken care of. I think there was some confusion. We had some direction as to where we had some facilitators come in to show us to help us find a direction to move, and at which time one of our partners wasn't sure what they were doing. And I'm just disappointed in that taking place and that we have to look for this 60-day extension. But in saying that, I am in support of it. I do want to see it get done, and I want to see our airport functioning.
Councillor Cunningham.
Well, I agree with what Councillor Allen's had to say, absolutely. It's very, very important. I'll add a few things in as well. I talked about this earlier on in the evening, but it was one of our top 3 priorities. In fact, not just one of our top 3 priorities of all 3 councils, it was the top priority, if memory serves me correctly. And very, very important piece of infrastructure. There are only 3 major airports like this in Nova Scotia. Sydney's got obviously the other 2 are larger, Sydney and Halifax. Obviously International is very, very large now. But having said that, it's a tremendously valuable piece of infrastructure. There are medical flights that leave from there. And they cannot go to Halifax any other way at times when the weather's bad. Helicopters can't fly. We are fairly remote from that central hospital apparatus in Halifax. So make no mistake, it's an extremely critical piece of infrastructure. We have lots of folks flying in and out of here to stay at our various hotels. We have business concerns, private jets coming in. So it does put us on the map, and it's very important. And a point that Councillor Allen made is that there's been too much noise around it. It's been in the media. We need to get this solved. All 3 partners need to come to an agreement long term to work on getting our airport back to where it should be. I'd have to characterize it as negative publicity in the newspaper. It's very, very similar to what's happened, although not as well publicized, is the ferry. And I think we've got to stop that. I think that we should put our best foot forward with the ferry and with the airport. So again, I think we need to get on the road to using this asset better and collaborating, cooperating with our partners to the max extent possible, because our community needs it.
Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. All right, Council, thank you very much. That's the conclusion of our agenda. A motion to adjourn is in order.
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Councillor LeBlanc. Do I second? Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it.